the number one characteristic for me is someone who wishes to serve, because really to lead, you must serve. And if your motivation is to serve other people, then there are a lot of things about leadership you can learn. If your motivation is not to serve other people, everything you learn won't really help you. So to me, that is the core of a leader, someone who can serve, someone who can listen, and who can see things through the eyes of the people that they're leading, and then try to make a difference for the people you're serving. I think the word that I hope describes me best is authentic, because that's what I strive to be every day. Not perfect, and not just so talented that people fall over, but someone who truly cares about other people and who wants to grow themselves and become a better person. I hope my friends and colleagues describe me as caring and compassionate, authentic and hardworking. I also know they describe me as determined sometimes, and maybe driven to do whatever the task is ahead. So it would not necessarily all be warm and fuzzy descriptions, perhaps, that they'd give, but I hope in the end the summary would be a good one. When I think about who has had the greatest impact on my life, I honestly cannot say one person has done that. I don't feel like your life is the result of one person's impact. Certainly, a huge impact on my life was that of my father, who was a very generous, warm, loving person. My father had very few resources, but he was the proverbial person who would give you the shirt off his back. And he did many times. He would bring home homeless people for dinner because he met them and they had nowhere to go. And we would have dinner with them, that sort of thing. So he was a big influence. I think I've been influenced by my faith experiences over the years, and many people were involved in that, to kind of call me to be a better person and to live out your faith by trying to serve others and help others, and that's been an influence. Certainly my family, my husband and my kids. Your kids definitely influence your life, right? And they can spot a phony answer immediately and call you to your authentic self pretty quickly. They can also teach you patience and influence you in that way, and unconditional love, which is, what you would want from your kids. I don't have one person. I have a lifetime of amazing people. I think one of the most impactful experiences I've had as a volunteer that makes me realize how we can all impact our community. I was part of a team that went to Miami after Hurricane Andrew, which was many decades ago now, and served people whose homes had been totally destroyed. And I was part of the food team, right, so that could help feed your family for the next few days. And what I saw there were literally thousands of volunteers coming to take care of that community, and how grateful people were. And that really helped me realize that everybody has a part to play in making a community better, whether it's from a disaster like that, or serving on a board of a not-for-profit, which I've done some of that as well, and being able to use your talent to help the people that not-for-profit helps. We all have the ability to make our communities better. And I felt when I went down, like, what am I going to do? I can't build a house. I have no carpentry skills. But it turned out I could give food out and comfort and encouragement. And that meant a lot to the individuals that I got to personally touch. So I think that was probably one of my most moving experiences. Nursing is a very unique profession, and I have to say I'm biased that way, that it is a privilege to be a nurse and to interact with people often at their most vulnerable times in their lives. And over the years, I've had the privilege to do that with many patients. And I think the patients I recall the most, and some I could call by name, but the ones that stay with you are the people who tell you how much you've touched their lives, how your engagement with them or your care of them, and it could be something as simple as, giving a bath or helping them up from the bed for the first time, or it could be something as dramatic as life-saving drugs or therapies. But people want to be cared for. We all, human beings, want to be cared about and for. And when you can connect with someone and demonstrate through your actions that you care about them, that this isn't just a job, this is an opportunity to connect on a human level. It's so rewarding. It's really hard to explain that. And so, I remember the patients who say, "Thank you, I couldn't have made it without you." Now, that may not actually even be true. But what that says to you as a caregiver is that your time was well spent, and it makes you want to do it again, right? Because it's so affirming. Having good health means everything, honestly, in life. It's a trite saying that, when you have your health, you have everything. But there's a reality to that you don't realize until you don't have it. There's so much you can do. As long as you're healthy and you feel good, you can overcome the obstacle of losing money or not having money, the obstacle of needing to get an education. There are a lot of things you can overcome. When your health is not good, you tend to turn inward because that's where your energy is. So having your health is in my mind, critical to happiness and to success, however you otherwise define success. I would say to anyone who asks, why do this? Why volunteer? Why give to others or pay it forward? What's the point in it? Because there's so much need in the world, you're not going to solve, all these problems. And the truth is, you're not going to solve all the problems of the world, but you may, in fact, influence the life of the one person you touch. There's an altruistic reason to do this. I believe we are called to care for each other. There's also a very personal reason to do this. You feel better when you give to other people. You're going to feel better about yourself. And so often I think that people who have a negative self-view or kind of are down in a place where they can't figure out how to get out, I want to say to them, stop thinking so much about yourself. Go think about somebody else. And what you find is that you just feel better, and you realize that you've got a lot to contribute, right? And you may not be perfect, and I don't know anybody who is, and maybe you can't do everything you want to do, but you can make a difference. That helps others, but it honestly helps you maybe more than it does them. I really admire my boss, John Wilkins. I've worked for him for a number of years, and he is so authentic and someone that you want to work for, someone that encourages you, someone who walks the talk, who gives it to you straight when you need it straight, but who also encourages you when you have done something good. So I really admire him. I admire his style, and I've worked to try and incorporate what I can of his style into mine. Volunteers in Medicine has a unique model, I think, in our community. First of all, they're part of a group of health clinics for the uninsured and the underinsured. And that concept of helping our community, people who don't have insurance, who can't afford to go to physicians and hospitals, it's just critical because we do have people who are uninsured, and we do want them to get their care in good, solid places like Volunteers in Medicine. I think one of the things that makes their model unique is that they are designed for people who are working but are uninsured. And so these are folks who are trying hard and have many expenses, family expenses, all the things that we all have. And they may not have insurance. They may work for a small employer that doesn't provide insurance. And they need their help because they are the breadwinners for their families, right? So it's important that they're able to be healthy, to stay healthy, to go to work, to care for their families, to contribute back to the community. And Volunteers in Medicine, because they do have volunteers, physicians and nurses who come alongside them and help care for the individuals that they care for, make a difference. They help keep our community healthier. These folks can go back to work and can keep their families healthier. And it's a cycle, and it's an important cycle. And it demonstrates to me that we have a community that cares for each other and that cares about what happens to the people in our community, all the people in our community. You know, one thing that all my friends may not know about me, although I am pretty talkative, and so I may have shared this with a few of them. But actually, during my childhood, I moved a lot, and I was in 12 different schools before I graduated from high school. So I think that influenced me, for better and for worse, honestly. But the for better was I was always the new kid, the new girl in class. And so if I wanted friends, I had to make them because, they weren't necessarily going to come and welcome you in. So I learned how to make friends quickly through that experience. I think it also influenced my life in that I said to myself, now, when I'm grown up, and if I have a family, I'm going to make sure that they never have to move, right? Consequently, my children were born and raised in the same house their whole lives, and I've worked for the same organization for almost 42 years. So the early part of my life and the last part of my life were totally different, and people might not realize that. What gets me excited? It's when there's a possibility to create something that hasn't existed and bring it to fruition as a team. In fact, I get made fun of sometimes because I believe the more people in the room, the better, right? Let's just put 40 people on this project and see where it goes. That actually is probably not a good technique, but it's my desire to bring all these people together and create something and then have us all stand back and go, look at that, and that made a difference. Sometimes that's successful. By the way, sometimes it's not. But it's the excitement of creating something that wasn't there before that really motivates me.